Welcome to the grim, lawless 23rd century, following the fall of U.S. Gov and mass depopulation of major cities at the hands of the multi-trillionaire DeHuberton family. Baptized in radioactive hellfire, a rare mutation makes Turbo a fiercely pumped scrapper, haunted by specters from her past, surviving the post-apocalyptic wasteland one deathmatch pit fight at a time. But when she rescues the stunning trophy girl, the unlikely duo are thrust into a harrowing odyssey, evading marauding berserkers at every turn on their way to the ultimate showdown as they uncover the horrific truth behind the fall of humanity.
Hi-ho, Jake. How you feeling?
Pretty groggy. Hey, Kurt. Hey, everybody. Calling from the road. I'm Jack Kerouac over here. Um, I'm actually on spring break vacation, and I'm in an alternate location. And I'm dark because
Undisclosed.
yes, it wasn't any way to get the camera working with a table and a desk and everything. So I might be turning my camera on to show some sketches and some materials. But um, today's our 2 year anniversary, huh, Kurt?
Woohoo! We have made 104 side-by-side collaborative videos on the same comic book. You penciling, storying, I'm inking and storying, and I was at just to geek out a little bit, or art nerd. I did a life drawing yesterday at one of our local community centers, and got to chatting with some people. Obviously, I am a very chatty person, talking about art and everything. And I mentioned I do a podcast, and these two people I was talking to just like, oh, wow. At first they were like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And I said, yeah, and tomorrow is my 2nd-year anniversary. And they went, wow. And I said, right? I mean, sticking with something for 2 years. And I said, and I have a collaborator, an art partner. And they're like, wow, that's even harder. And I said, that's right. So kudos to us.
Yeah, we've been sticking with this, almost every week. Try to do it on Sundays. But we're in this project making this comic, and I'm sure both of us spend a lot of our free time thinking about it and, doing prep work. And, I know you do a lot of editing, to get these things up on the air. I do a lot of kind of like plotting and sketching. And so I do, I have a sketchbook queued up where I haven't shown you some sketches in a while. And some of the sketches I should have sent you ahead of time, but you popped them up on the screen in post anyway, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so well,
But
let's see. Let's see if I can get it.
we have some business to take care of, because we do have an official announcement on the 2nd year of us completing our podcast, that we both agree that Turbo Pit Fighter teaser number 2, the first 12 pages, is complete, and I can go to print, and then start reaching out to our list of 18 indie creators that we've done an exchange and an interview with. Is that correct, Jake?
Well, we did find some typos and some letters
Okay.
transposed. And I did want to make a pass on the PDFs or the JPEGs you gave me, high res,
Uh,
one
uh,
last time because there were just a couple of things that I wanted to maybe fix up. Like for example, you have the pencil lines faint with the page numbers on the original art in the
yeah.
last couple pages you
Yeah.
gave me. Right.
Yeah.
right. So it's
Yeah.
like hand drawn, like sketchy marks. And I
Yeah. I
know we have
mean,
this, yeah, on the upper right corners.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know we
Some
have
of them do. Yeah, like
this,
8. And,
right. So this kind of rough hewn look that we have, but that's kind of like distracting because it's like, oh, that's not, grit from like leftover from debris from a battle. That's like a guy sitting at a drawing table, you know.
right.
So, so I
Teasing
just thought
you.
of like, right. I mean,
Have
I'm just gonna take like a discerning eye, like maybe as a art director or traffic manager, let's say, and because we're sending these things off to print, but but it isn't going to be the final that the whole book is compiled, look that we're going to do later on. So yeah, but we are at a pretty nice stage to be able to
All
have
right.
a 16 pager, to
Right.
trot out,
This is
and
extra
that's going to be
material,
fun.
bonus material
Yep,
that will be.
right. All that, yep, chock full of information about the
Yep.
timeline launch.
Yep.
This is going to be our launch of our Substack, which is going to be our sci-fi timeline, which has important prequel information about the downfall of the world, or the downfall of the U.S. government, and I guess the world. The one thing we don't really talk about too much is what's happening outside of the U.S. or North America, but I'm sure we'll get to that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and with that, I'm going to take us through some process here. Let me flip on my camera for a sec, and I'm holding this horizontally. Is that okay?
Yeah,
You can
that's fine.
see I've got some vertical blinds here in the room. So here are
That's
some
awesome.
notes. So I keep a sketchbook here, and I don't think there's anything relevant up here in the front, but here. So I have some notes. I might have mentioned this before, but Um, as the world is heading towards this apocalypse where all the major cities are wiped out and the remaining people alive are in the wastelands in like kind of like the outlying areas, until we get to the turbo years, which are going to be in the 2240s ish. Um, so one of the things that's going to happen is breaking down the family where the a substance is going to be put in the food and the water that's going to kind of desensitize people to the family ties, um, impulse or instinct that we have. And that's going to be very deliberate once they isolate that. And when you're thinking about science, it probably won't be that hard to do one day once they have the measuring capabilities. Like if I take like 100 subjects and I tell them your child is going to be taken away from you, or your cousin or your brother or your family member, they're going to be taken away from you, and you just look at what lights up in the brain. When that happens, you could conceivably isolate those nerve synapses and those chemical exchanges. So that's what I'm thinking about for the future. This was a sketch I was making of Elevena with this tool that she's going to have, which is going to be kind of like a wand. Elevena, of course, is going to be the key figure behind the downfall of society. This is the page about giantesses. This is a sketch that I've been thinking about making. I call this old lady DeHuberton. Check out these notes. She's married in, she's not blood. Telepathy for secret comms. Supported petty corruption as a decoy. And she's, of course, a sentient because she's kept alive. And I was thinking about this for her body, her avatar, like her
Oh,
metal or
wow.
fiberglass frame. Right. I was just thinking about something elegant. But she is going to be the one I'm thinking that is going to be controlling the flying peas that do all this stuff, going way back to the origin story of Elevena, or I'm sorry, Esoterra Elevena, and kind of manipulating things. And she'll be around for hundreds of years because she's a sentient, right? And that means her organs are just kept alive. I can't wait to draw, like when we flip open the case on one of these like avatar bodies, and you can see what the decrepit organs look like being kept alive, and this is Elevator's face, and I've been playing around with this, like just doing it, sketching it, like again and again and again until I can kind of refine it. This one, the nose might be a little wide, but she'll have kind of like a long face. Um, Here's Cremita, the she-bot that builds herself. Here is I was trying about thinking about the Bob Guccione character, and there is going to be a DeHuberton brother of import that is going to be the one that spearheads the revolution against married couples by releasing a line of pleasure bots that is going to effectively, keep males satiated, and at home, and like service their every needs through mechanical, companionship. And I was gonna see how he's got like a smoking jacket here. I was trying to make him like this kind of like Hugh Hefner like outfit, but
Bring it down a bit, or bring the camera up a bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. That's good. Yeah, yeah,
right.
good.
So I was trying to make him like he'll be really good looking with like green eyes and kind of like sultry, sweltery, but he'll be a D. Huberton brother, um, who will be, you know, uh, the manufacturer, the pleasure bot manufacturer, because there'll be bots that are manufactured for all different purposes. There's going to be warrior bots. There's going to be cleanup bots, maintenance bots, all kinds of bots. Um, this is a little picture of Chromita. As you can see, I'm trying and just sketching, sketching. I don't know if you can see that well, but and then I have some notes here. The story of the Duke, wrestler turned governor turned prisoner turned coin magnate, and then the most heroic and mysterious disappearances in history. That's just a little teaser. Oh yeah, I showed you this before. Um, so this
Nice.
is going to be one of Elevena's super squadron of just kind of warrior maidens. And I have this story that I'm working on in my head. I have some notes on it, but when we finally get um, our process down, where we're going to be launching our Substack
Yeah,
installments, I have
yeah.
this great story which is going to be called The Company Man. And it's going to be about somebody that works for the DeHubertons as there's going to be these jobs where there's contractors that go out and fix all kinds of problems. They just travel around, and one of them is going to turn on another one and snitch that he's, actively doing kind of like resistance actions, and he's going to be endangered, and he's going to need a rescue, and he's going to call out to Elevena's organization. Elevena is going to have these kind of like protected areas of farms and wildlife and everything that she bought, and that she has to use military might and her own defenses to defend against looters and warlords and the DeHubertons. But she will have a super squadron, and she will go out and rescue this guy's daughter. And the guy, spoiler alert, the guy is not going to make it, but he's going to sacrifice himself to make sure that his daughter is going to go to Elevena's farm. Um, we'll just call it, it's really going to be like a state. And this woman is going to be. I tried to draw her like a little chunky, like a Robert Crumb lady. But she's going to have her weapons, and they're going to have these vehicles that'll be kind of like combination between like motorcycles and pods, and they'll scoot around. And the reason why they're going to rescue the girl is because they got a DNA sample and found out that she had a predilection for enhancement, and so that she'll basically go into the training force and become one of the super squadron people herself. But she's only a kid now. So that's going to be an interesting story because it's going to just be like a slice of life of um, how the society is going to be set up. There's going to be it's going to be polarized where some people, I guess I'll just turn off my camera for now. But in the years leading up to, the massacre, there's going to be a lot of people that sign up for these life subscriptions, and some entire states will sign contracts so that instead of having the government and services, you have these DeHuberton company life subscriptions. And I think the company is going to be called like a Walco or something. I had some kind of like take on this, but there will be all of these services that you're due as a subscriber, and it's like cradle to grave services, but you're stuck in this kind of thing where this private company is providing all of these needs, providing for all your needs. Like if there's a flood in your area, they have to drain the water. If there's they're supposed to do like healthcare, and they're supposed to do food and water, clean water and all that. But actually what they're doing is they're putting stuff in the water on purpose to create, to alter the physiology of all their customers. So it's going to be kind of like really subversive. At the same time, it's going to be very sci-fi-ish. And of course, the message is that all these companies consolidate into the one big company and they control everything, that people are going to be trapped, and there's going to be this really kind of like subversive propaganda thing where they tell you, like Orwell's famous 1984, where they just tell you everything's okay, and they're just going to keep on with that, and they're going to tell you, to continue to side with us. And there's going to be some people that are like, no, this is clearly bad for me and my family, and there's going to be others that are going to be like, no, I'm buying in, and they're going to be 100%ers. So that's a little bit about the kind of like backstory and the thinking of the timeline. But here's what it looks like when you put it into practice a little bit. I started to print out a timeline here, and the earliest entry that I have is the year 2097, when one of the companies that would later merge into the DeHuberton family by marriage spits out a bold acquisition plan. The algorithm spits out a bold acquisition plan, purchasing Ogle, the world's biggest web browser, despite an incredibly steep price tag. The purchase was kept secret via NDAs for over 20 years, concealing the change of ownership, at which time the pages appearing on the web were altered, adding decoy information, as any public data with monetization potential was moved to a private subscription service for a dwindling number of elite clients. So, there's not going to be any way to present that in a comic book, right? That's really like for prose, right?
Well, I mean, other than, I would love to see something adjacent to that text that's splashy pagey, montagey, because that is
Sure.
one of your things. Like you're a master of montages. So, and they obviously having that exploitation B movie poster kind of feel to it. So
Right.
that runs very aligned with one of those.
Right, and that's what I'm thinking of. And if anybody's listening, and you have a suggestion for a visual for something like that, like those are the things I struggle with, because you had great advice, like make an illustration, even if it's only a WIP, and put these out, with these installments. So then we go to 2117. Acquisition details were leaked. The private clients were boycotted and quickly dropped until only Walco had access to the true web, TRUWEB, one word. And as of April 2112, 100 years of data were housed on Ogle Drive. So, Kurt, you know how we're in this dawn of AI right now?
Yeah.
Right. So, think ahead. Now, I'm not just talking sci-fi here. I'm talking real life. What do you think is going to happen 100 years from now, after AI
Woo.
has permeated our society. And you know what I'm thinking is going to happen, and I'm putting in the storyline is that I think there's going to be a ton of bad information out there that's going to seem
Uh,
historic, but it's just going to be
yeah. Oh. Well,
it's going to be arbitrary, you know?
oh man. Yeah, I agree. I think about that actually a lot. The misinformation and the created narratives I think we've been experiencing for probably about 8 years now. And they, it is well defined right now that the reason we're only getting very, very little pieces of the AI systems is because there is so much terror in the organizations and the government on releasing something that's uninhibited to people, individuals, and groups that can then use this very creatively. I think is what people fail to understand is to put all of your creative energy into something where um, you're making something that is completely believable. Now, I'll go on the record.
Yeah.
I I have been duped a couple of times with YouTube videos, and the duping is nothing like it. You know,
Loose change.
I bought land in Albuquerque, but no,
Right.
it was more like a persuasion of an outlook on something, and so. And the reason was it had such a, let's say, cinematographic quality to, some music and, facts and graphs, and some guy is, and then underneath it says, doctor of the, it's like, retired naval commander, these types of things. And I think to kind of create the impetus to this idea of 100 years from now, that basically what we know and think and feel to be historical of value 200 to 2,000 to 20,000 years prior, 100 years from now, the only thing that's going to help anybody to move forward is critical thinking. So the individuals that are skeptical, highly in a process of breaking things down and cross-checking facts,
Well,
those are the only people who are actually going to sort of survive it in let's say a way of sanity. But yeah, I believe 100 years from now will be not we, uh, unless something comes along in the next 50 years that gives you another 100 years.
will be
Um,
sentience.
and I'm not interested. So yeah. But it's all going to be cinematographic. And I think the one fail that 1984, George Orwell's 1984 has, is that the entertainment is not of the uh, uh, ramped up level, hyperstatically that we're so integrated with, and I think that layer being placed on top of Big Brother Corporation and hey, stay in line and da 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 da. If you don't, you disappear. And these types of things are not.
We're
They're just not
opiated
too
by.
far away. Yeah, I mean, we're such a multifaceted society, but I think the other part of it is just cancel culture as itself. Like, no government is doing what we, the people, are doing to each other. That I think is the other, that leads me back to people trying to rewrite or write out pieces of history. That is sad. It's sad because one of the best quotes is, if you don't study, own, and grok your history, you are doomed to repeat it. And it just seems absolutely like insane that we allow people to do this in the way of narrative, but
Yeah,
it
well,
makes for a great dystopian, a post-apocalyptic story.
yes, right, and this is exactly what we're doing here. We're discussing the real world, and I think that's what good sci-fi
how
does.
real how real is the real world?
Right, but I want to push back because I want to push back on
Okay.
something you said because
Okay.
you mentioned that the government is kind of like the gatekeeper right now. We know that there's very advanced AI out there now doing lots of different things, and you're suggesting that the government is preventing it from getting out there because
Oh no,
it
it's the
has
corporations.
right. It's
It's
a
the
corporation.
corporations are keeping
Yeah,
it. Oh no, it
right.
is.
The government is
The
way
government is
behind.
just the government is just is a weight around the corporation's neck. That they just slows them down. But the interior corporations, everybody knows the majority of them are far left leaning in that let's just say let's eliminate far left leaning. Let's say utopianistic.
Yeah, I mean,
They want to see all of this really give individuals the ability to lift themselves up above the muck and have a stable life. And God bless if that could ever really happen, but that's just one point of view of what stable life is.
yeah. Well, we're in a moment now where the billionaires, multi-billionaires, are really stepping up their game. I saw a graphic that showed the wealth of Zuckerberg, Musk, and Bloomberg, and Buffett, and how it is increased exponentially in the last 10 years. They were worth, tens of billions, 10 billion, let's say, and now they're worth, over 100 billion 10 years later. So this is the way it's going. And that does enable them to just acquire any company they want and to buy Twitter, literally buy Twitter, and then poison the minds, of every single user, or at least attempt to poison the minds of the less critical thinkers out there. And we're seeing that right now, and this is the real world. I mean, Elon Musk is like retweeting very irresponsible sources on a daily basis. And he's having fun because he probably knows better and he knows what he's doing, but he's just toying around with, this experiment, this mass psychology experiment, and just to see what he can get away with. Um, and the government, right? So this is why this whole timeline, I mean, probably the biggest thing that happens in the timeline is the fall of the U.S. government in 2022, right on schedule. But also, there's going to be a lot of scientific discovery. And one of the big themes that I'm hoping that this timeline, whether it ends up just being the turbo comic or the installments, and the installments maybe end up in some kind of book form or whatever, with pictures. I don't know what this will be, but one of the big takeaways is this fact that scientific secrets are very, very, guarded if they have the potential to, for bad actors to get their hands on them, and should be. You think about the nuclear secrets, right? For, of how to build a nuclear bomb, right? That's been one of the biggest kind of like hot button things in science forever, right? In Iran, nuclear physicists are assassinated by our government. I mean, I hope that's not in dispute, right? That this has been happening for decades,
So,
and
I mean, just to kind of square us in, we priorly discussed that we wanted to do two 30-minute around there videos because you're on vacation and we want to be able to give you back that, and then next week, the following week, we'll have something to post. So we do want to jump over and do a part two, if you will.
yeah,
So why don't you hold on to that thought, because you're also, and my immediate response is, oh boy, here we go. We're going down the conspiracy hole, which is one of my favorite places to go. But other than that, let's let these
yes. Well, we're
these
fiction writers, so we can do
exactly.
we can do all that, but we're also observers, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there
yeah.
and there is a good healthy debate, a good healthy controversy. So let's
Yes.
let's
Yeah, that's
wrap that into like the theme of the next episode, so that
yeah, yeah.
people know going in. Oh, I'm not just gonna see Jake and Kurt sketching. I'm gonna hear some crazy lunatic fringe, stuff. Totally embracing it.
All right, cool. So that's all I got. We'll let these people get back to reading comics, making them if they do. Any last words before we move out? To
No,
close
check
this
out
down.
our other series. Usually when we're back home, we're doing comics and influence. We're doing the creator exchange, and so the special on the road edition has been brought to you by Turbo Pit Fighter. Check us out on our regular our regular channels.
Can you drop your sketch down a bit, so because we see the? Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
cool.
this is
Is that
gonna
a
be
vehicle?
this is gonna be the vehicle that's tailing them in
Ah,
the
cool,
chapter in the pages
cool.
to come once I get back
All
to
right,
penciling. So I'm just doing some advanced sketching.
all right, cool. All right, then I'll see you in 30 seconds.
All right. Bye everyone.
1 week for everybody else.
Bye.